Corporation is continuing to do its part in stemming the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Apart from recently placing its return to office plan on hold and having free RT-PCR testing at its own San Miguel Better World EDSA RT-PCR testing lab, SMC is also stepping up its booster rollout for employees and their families. With 97% of its workforce fully vaccinated, the food and beverage conglomerate began administering booster shots in December and is currently rolling out vaccinations in major locations, with more provinces nationwide already being lined up. Speaking about the rise in COVID-19 cases, San Miguel Corporation President and CEO Ramon Ang says, "The most important thing we as a company can do is to help prevent its further spread, so as not to overwhelm our medical sector." Through these initiatives, SMC is confident it can continue to safely provide essential services for the Filipinos in these challenging times. Sam Tudwani, CNN Philippines.
Every night, we take a hard look at the stories and provide you with multiple points of view from here and around the world. Now, we'll bring you more news you can use from the trading floor and the global markets, and bring you more news you can trust in business and finance. Buy, sell, hold on The Final Word, weekdays at 9 p.m. only on CNN Philippines.
Good evening, I'm Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Tonight on the program, with the downtrend of COVID-19 cases here in Metro Manila, should restrictions be eased in the region by February? Health officials and experts weigh in. A television interview with presidential aspirants over the weekend has the public talking until now over their controversial answers and a no-show. And this one's for hoop fans. You might just see your favorite PBA players return to action for the Governor's Cup early next month. The Health Department confirms COVID-19 cases in Metro Manila have already peaked, with the cases projected to decline further. Is it possible to place the region under a more relaxed alert level next month? Caroline Bonkin tells us what health officials think.
Daily COVID-19 infections in Metro Manila dramatically rose from only 90 on December 23rd to 3,359 on January 2nd, to a record high 18,700 by January 10th. Independent research group Octa says this is the peak or the highest number of cases in this surge. As quickly as they spiked, the numbers in Metro Manila were substantially down to only 5,400 on January 23rd. And the Health Department is now confirming COVID-19 cases in the region are on the decline.
But we are still very cautious because we know that there are a lot of individuals that are using antigen tests at home and even in the local governments that are not being reported to the DOH. And also there are a lot of individuals currently who are sick, opts to isolate and without being tested.
In NCR, we're roughly seeing the same similar pattern with South Africa. It was a rapid increase followed by a decrease, almost as rapid but not as rapid. Ganun din sa NCR, we saw a rapid increase followed by a decrease.
In addition, Octa says cases in neighboring Bulacan, Rizal, and Cavite are also going down. On the other hand, Angeles, Lucena, Olongapo, Baguio, and Cebu cities are nearing the peak. And cases could still go up in other provinces.
Patterns will probably follow in general, pero each region has unique properties, different vaccine coverage. Kasi isang factor dito yung vaccine coverage, isang factor yung mobility, yung alert level.
Octa projects COVID-19 cases in Metro Manila may decline to 1,000 by Valentine's Day and to less than 500 a day by end of February. And this wave of infection might end by March or April. Despite this upbeat outlook, the health department says it is not yet inclined to recommend easing restrictions in Metro Manila.
We will need to review the metrics. Hopefully, lahat ng ginagawa natin ay nagiging epektibo at sana maging tagumpay para talaga maibaba natin to 3 or double-digit cases ang Kamaynilaan para matibay ang batayan for de-escalating to alert level 2.
Kung nasa 2,000 cases per day pa tayo by first week of February, baka masyado pang premature na ibaba agad to alert level 2. Mas mabuting siguraduhin na nating bumaba at bumagsak na yung bilang ng kaso tulad na nakita natin noong October to November to December, siguro bago tayo magluwag.
The IATF is meeting on January 27th to decide on alert levels in Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Aside from the number of cases, the government is also monitoring hospital care use, infection rate, and the number of people infected per 100,000 population. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
The 5-day vaccine drive for commuters and drivers kicked off at a public transport terminal in Parañaque today. The initiative aims to bring vaccination sites closer to the public. Chrissy Di Matulak brings us up to speed.
The government is wrapping up its vaccination drive for the country to achieve herd immunity. The Transportation Department, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, and the Health Department have all teamed up with the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange for the vaccination of commuters and drivers of public transport in the terminal. The We Vax as One mobile vaccination drive for commuters and transport workers will run for 5 days from today, January 24 to 28. AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine is administered as first, second, and booster doses.
Just by placing this station sa mga strategic area na very convenient sa ating mga kababayan, mas lalong ma-encourage sila magpabakuna ng mabilisan, no? At nakita mo, ang bilis lang, wala pang 5 minutes tapos kagad ang proseso. Dadamihan pa po namin ito.
Pauwi na ako ng Bacoor, as may libre daw. Tsaka hindi pa ako naka-schedule doon sa Bacoor, kaya dito na lang po ako nagpa-booster.
The mobile vaccination drive aims to inoculate 500 individuals per day. From 8 a.m. until 12 noon, walk-ins are allowed. Those who will be receiving their booster shots will be given priority. The government is eyeing to tap more establishments as locations for the vaccination drive. This is to make inoculations more accessible to the public, especially with the implementation of the no vaccination, no entry policy in public areas and transportation. Chrissy Di Matulak, CNN Philippines.
The Labor Department now accepting applications for its one-time cash assistance for displaced and affected workers in areas under Alert Level 3 and 4. Our Tristan Nadalo reports.
Private sector employees who are affected by tighter restrictions under Alert Level 3 or higher may start availing the 5,000 peso cash aid of the Labor Department starting this week. The assistance will cover employees who have been laid off from businesses that have been closed either permanently or temporarily. Government employees, foreign nationals, and tourism sector workers are not covered by the cash assistance. Beneficiaries of the aid program can apply through the DOLE website at www.reports.dole.gov.ph. The worker must submit a personal photo showing a valid government ID and notarized proof of unemployment. Approval of application may take up to 3 working days and cash will be sent to remittance centers.
The rationale dito kadat pag alert level 3, medyo yung capacity ng work at saka yung business limited. Like for example, ang restaurant under alert level 3, kapag ka-dine-in, kailangan 30% capacity lang yan. So definitely, yung owner ng restaurant, magre-reduce yan ng workers. O yung mga mateterminate, although temporarily, mabibigyan ng ayuda.
The government estimates that up to 25,000 workers have been affected by the imposition of Alert Level 3 in many areas nationwide. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines.
A recent study by the Science and Technology Department shows virgin coconut oil, or VCO, helps treat mild to moderate COVID-19. But the agency clarifies it's only an additional supplement to ease symptoms. Stanley Gahete has the details.
Mark Lester believes that the medicinal benefits of the virgin coconut oil, or VCO, help alleviate his mild COVID-19 symptoms.
It somehow helped, no? Kasi merong parang soothing feeling din kapag nagte-take ka ng VCO. Napaka-importante na yung medicines natin, yung mga tinitake natin para gumaling, science-based.
A recent study by the Food and Nutrition Research Institute of the Department of Science and Technology shows that taking VCO promoted faster recovery among COVID-19 patients with mild to moderate symptoms. The study says VCO significantly lowers the C-reactive protein or CRP, which is a biomarker for inflammation and infection.
Ngayon, yung mga nag-perform sa amin ng clinical trials, halimbawa yan sa VCO, ay nakikipag-usap sila sa kanilang counterpart researchers sa ibang bansa na subukang magkaroon din sila ng trials. Tapos maraming ebidensya at trials ay mas magandang makakumbinse sa scientific community.
In the study, mild symptoms in 18% or 7 out of 39 COVID-19 patients who took VCO began to ease at day 2. Signs and symptoms of all patients had disappeared at day 14. Meanwhile, all patients who did not take VCO were cleared of COVID symptoms only at day 26.
Ang aming ini-emphasize, ito ay adjunctive therapy or makadadagdag sa pagpapabilis ng resolution ng symptoms at sa pagbaba noong marker ng infection.
Virgin coconut oil continues to undergo extensive testing by DOST as an adjunct therapy in managing COVID-19 symptoms, along with other products like Lagundi and other possible means to combat diseases in the time of the pandemic. Stanley Guete, CNN Philippines.
In global headlines, China sees 72 coronavirus cases among personnel related to the 2022 Winter Olympics in its capital, Beijing. None of them so far are athletes. Authorities carried out a closed-loop system or a bubble, cutting off Olympic athletes and officials from the rest of the city. The Winter Games kick off on February 4th. Well, speaking of China, the East Asian giant showed off its military might on Sunday, sending 39 warplanes into Taiwan's air defense zone. That's after the United States and Japanese navies put on a massive show of force in the Philippine Sea. The U.S. Navy said they were training to protect a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Taiwan issued radio warnings and deployed defense missiles to monitor the warplanes. Taipei and mainland China have been governed separately for over 70 years, but Beijing insists the island is part of its territory. Ukraine braces for possible military action as more than 127,000 Russian troops gather at its border. The U.S. sent weapons to Ukraine and cut staff at its embassy in the capital, earlier warning that an invasion could be imminent. U.S. President Joe Biden again vowed swift and severe consequences against Moscow should it further invade Ukraine. Amid growing tensions, Pope Francis called for January 26th to be a day of prayer for peace. Presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos says he will not disclose his SAL-N or statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth if he wins in the 2022 polls. And the Philippine Basketball Association Board agrees to resume the Governor's Cup next month, weeks after suspending games because of COVID-19. Details next.
Bilib ako sa MX3 dahil ito ay napatunayang may alpha, beta at gamma mangosteen. MX3 capsule helps avoid pain discomfort para iwas sakit. Tested and proven na low sodium, cholesterol-free at fat-free. Dito ako sa tunay, natural at original. MX3.
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. The group seeking to void the candidacy of former Senator Bongbong Marcos now bringing their case to the COMELEC's full bench of judges. Petitioners also have other requests from the poll body. Let's bring in our Melissa Lopez for the details. Mel, what exactly do they want?
Pia, a human rights group represented by lawyer Theodore Te, has asked the 7-member COMELEC and bank to reverse last week's decision, junking their bid to block the presidential run of Bongbong Marcos. They also asked the poll body not to include Marcos's name from the ballots, though ballot printing already started over the weekend, and his name is among 10 presidential bets. The same group asked 3 COMELEC commissioners who are part of the division to inhibit from the review. They are Commissioners Socorro Inting, Antonio Co, and Ray Bulay. Tess Camp accused them of being biased in Bongbong's favor. Tess says the poll officials sound impartial and confrontational in their 32-page ruling last week. The group is claiming grave abuse of discretion when all 3 sided with Marcos and, quote, demonized the human rights defenders. If granted, there will only be 4 members left on COMELEC's full bench, but 3 of them are also retiring next month, including Chairman Sherif Abbas. And Commissioner Inting will serve as acting poll chairman. She happens to be the writer of the decision now in question. Tess Camp also argues that the division was wrong to say that Marcos can run because the Court of Appeals did not impose upon him a perpetual ban from holding any government post. They claim such punishment is automatic for any violation of the tax code. Petitioners also insist that the commissioners made a mistake when they said that Bongbong did not deliberately lie in his COC to say he is qualified to run, despite knowing that he was previously found guilty for not filing his income tax returns. We have yet to hear when and how the poll body will tackle this appeal. Pia.
Mel, is there an update on the COMELEC's plan to hold debates? And do they have the power and are they going to exercise that to require candidates to attend?
Actually, COMELEC spokesman James Jimenez clarified over the weekend that while attending these public debates is not mandatory, candidates know just how big an opportunity it is to show their capability in answering or addressing national issues and in explaining their platforms of government. As of now, the poll body is still finalizing the rules and format of these debates, which we can expect the first COMELEC sanctioned event by the end of February. Pia, back to you.
Melissa Lopez there reporting. Still on Marcos, the former senator does not plan to release his statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth, or SALN, to the public if elected to the country's top post. Marcos says the SALN can be weaponized by political rivals, citing the case of former Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Corona. The remarks come even if Marcos had previously said he would be willing to publicize his SALN.
Lahat ng politiko may kalaban eh. Makakahanap yan, gagawa ng issue ang kahit na walang issue. We have to be more protective. You know, the SALN is actually it shows exactly what your economic activity has been pretty much for all your life. Kung talagang may kaso, kung talagang may problema, kung may reklamo, padaan natin sa ating mga authorities at silang magtingin, silang tumingin. Look at the central bank, which has all of these records anyway. AMLA has all of these records anyway. AMLA has all of these records anyway. If you take it to court, then the court will be allowed to look at all of the SALN and examine it properly.
During Jessica Sojo's presidential interviews on GMA7, some top presidential aspirants all said they were in favor of publicizing a public official SALN. Labor leader Calyodi de Guzman also says refusing to release one SALN is a betrayal to the public. Meanwhile, Senator Ping Lacson explained why he described President Duterte as sayang. During that interview, Lacson said the Duterte administration did not succeed in 3 of its key advocacies: the war on drugs, fight against corruption, and assertion of the country's sovereignty over the West Philippine Sea. Vice President Leni Robredo reminding her fellow aspirants they should not be afraid of facing tough questions and criticism because the public has the right to know the answers. Marcos declined to attend Jessica So's interviews, claiming the multi-awarded journalist is biased, a statement that GMA7 had rejected. Senator Manny Pacquiao says he is grateful after Robredo said she would vote for him if he was not running in the 2022 race. He adds he and Robredo have the same goal of lifting the country from poverty despite having different platforms and views. And Manila Mayor Isko Moreno admitted in the interview he kept 50 million pesos in campaign donations during his 2016 senatorial bid, but he said he paid taxes for these funds. He says he did not commit violations. I'm sorry, that's a repetition of the previous paragraph. Let's move on to other stories now. Veteran lawmakers weigh in on pressing matters to show why they're worthy of a Senate comeback. Our senior correspondent and anchor Ruth Cabal sat down with three hopefuls in CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. Beige Javier gives us the highlights.
From former Senate colleagues to fellow aspirants in the 2022 national elections, re-electionist Richard Gordon and aspiring returnees Cheese Escudero and JV Ejercito made their case in the second CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. The veteran lawmakers were on the same page in several key issues, like giving our health workers more.
Kung may batas man na gagawin, dapat isaklaw o isama ang temporary job order at contractual workers.
Itaas natin ang kanilang kompensasyon o benefits. Ginagarantiyan ng Universal Healthcare Law.
Dapat meron silang talaga mga break times na dapat talaga hindi ibababa doon. Kailangan dagdagan natin ang sweldo, kailangan dagdagan ng doctors.
The country also faces a potential power crisis with the near depletion of the Malampaya gas field. The senatorial aspirants believe it's about time to reconsider reviving the Bataan nuclear plant.
Neutral ako sa teknolohiyang, importante lamang ligtas ito, kayang bayaran ng sambayan ng Pilipino at makakatugon sa problema. Kaya ngayon pa lang, dapat tutukan na yan.
Dapat tingnan natin ang cost-benefit analysis. Makakabuti ba yan? Kung this is a nuclear plant, I'm in favor of it in terms of magagamit natin yan.
And ang nuclear energy ay mababa po ang cost, halos kalahati lamang. So it's about time we reconsider. No? Look into it, tignan muna natin. But of course, safety is the priority.
More than 5 years since the country won the arbitral ruling over the South China Sea dispute, China remains defiant. Ejercito, Escudero, and Gordon believe the Philippines cannot enforce the Hague decision on its own.
We can have forge alliances with Australia, United States, Japan, ASEAN neighbors in trying to maintain a zone of peace and free travel.
We cannot deal with China one-on-one. Kailangan kasama natin ang ASEAN, kailangan kasama natin ang ibang bansa. And for security purposes, dapat talaga meron tayong alliances.
Arbitral ruling ay hindi lamang laban sa interes ng China. Yan ang pangunahing rason kung kaya't mahihirapan tayong kumbinsihin ang ibang ASEAN countries.
But while united in several issues, they were divided in some, like the Duterte administration's war on drugs, where only Ejercito was in favor. When asked what would be on their agenda if they returned to the Senate, here's what they had to say.
Kung kaya diyan po ako nagpasya na ako'y tumakbo muli sa Senado para talaga tapusin po ang UAC para mas magaling pakipakinabang sa ating mga kababayan.
Pangunahing tututukan ko ang pagtugon sa pandemya, pagbibigay laya at mas malaking kakayahan para sa mga lokal na pamahalaan.
Yung RICH bill, Regional Infrastructure Investment Coordinating Hub, na kung saan ay pagsasama-samahin natin yung mga lugar katulad sa Negros Island, sa Panay Island, doon sa mga regions, para sila mismo makakapag-imbita ng investments.
The weekly senatorial forums aim to educate voters and give hopefuls a voice ahead of the elections. Aspirants can make their case, while Filipinos decide whether or not these leaders deserve a vote. Beige Javier, CNN Philippines.
Catch the replay of the senatorial forum later at 8, only here on CNN Philippines. Now, the armed forces took huge strides toward modernization right before 2021 ended. David Santos tells us about the arrival of new defense assets and the acquisition of more big-ticket items for the Army.
The armed forces ending 2021 with a bang, literally and figuratively. The Army getting 15 new armored mortar carriers or AMCs late December. Sourced from Israel, the AMCs are equipped with 120mm mortar systems. They're part of the mounted mortar acquisition project to expand the Army's fire support assets that will eventually include light tanks.
We're very fortunate that even before the pandemic, the procurement process was already completed. So we're just awaiting for the delivery of the projects.
Most of the Army's close to 500 armored assets are spread all over, except in Palawan, which is under the Navy's watch.
This capability demonstration here in Tarlac gives us a first-hand experience on the many assets that the Armored Division of the Philippine Army used in their different operations all over the country, specifically in Mindanao, but more particularly during the Marawi siege.
The armored carriers figured prominently during the 2017 battle in Marawi. The Defense Department recently announcing it is buying shore-based anti-ship missiles to help defend the nation's maritime borders. It will be supplied by BrahMos Aerospace of the Indian government, the deal worth 19 billion pesos. And with just months left in office, the Duterte administration also pushing for more big-ticket items. The DND signing the contract for 2 corvettes worth 28 billion from the same South Korean company behind the controversial 18 billion peso frigates. There is also funding for 6 offshore patrol vessels to be built by an Australian company worth 30 billion. President Duterte also approving to buy 32 additional Black Hawks from Poland with a price tag of 32 billion. This is aside from new Air Force assets that include 6 attack helicopters from Turkey worth 13 billion pesos.
We expect the Attack 129, it's a close air support platform, helicopter, and of course yung ating medium lift aircraft for transporting our troops and their authorized passengers.
All these, the military says, geared not only to protect the nation's security, but also to be used for government's response to disasters and the pandemic. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Coming up on Newsnight, updates on the much-awaited Miss World pageant with the announcement of the top 40 list. And Adele tries to heal fans' heartbreak after rescheduling shows through a surprise over the phone. Details when we return.
Amid the darkness, look on the bright side. It has never been this good for Philippine golf. The country was able to send its best golfers to the last 2 Olympics and clinched a major championship. First, Miguel Tabuena competed in Rio 2016, followed by Bianca Pagdanganan and Filipino-Japanese golf sensation Yuka Saso in Tokyo 2020. Months before Tokyo, Yuka won the prestigious U.S. Women's Open. With Philippine golfers breaking through on a global stage, the country's golfing community thrived and became vibrant.
It's always an honor to play for the flag. There's always a different feel of playing for something bigger than yourself.
It's really great to see how much golf has taken off, especially last year. It was a tough year for everyone, but I think golf is one of the sports where you could implement safety protocols.
Since 2005, International Container Terminal Services Incorporated, or ICTSI, has been supporting the training of Filipino golfers, including the staging of pro circuits by Pilipinas Golf.
ICTSI and PGT, LPGT are doing a great job providing the professional golfers to have a tour in Philippines.
Me, Yuka, and Bianca would 100% agree that we wouldn't be where we are now without ICTSI.
Over the years, golf greats like Jennifer Rosales and Frankie Mendoza and current superstars like Yuka, Bianca, and Miguel have gotten support from ICTSI and Pilipinas Golf, helping them achieve their goals, including the promotion of Philippine golf worldwide. With ICTSI's support, golf is the silver lining in Philippine sports. I'm Sam Sidwani, CNN Philippines.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. We may see players return to the hard court soon, with the Philippine Basketball Association Board agreeing to resume the Governor's Cup in the first week of February. Commissioner Willie Marshall says the league is just waiting for approval from local governments to begin scrimmages among teams. Guidelines under Alert Level 3 state that contact sports are not allowed unless in a bubble. PBA suspended games earlier this month because of rising COVID-19 infections. Now, the race for the Miss World crown is heating up, with a list of top 40 candidates already out. The country's bet, Tracy Maureen Perez, is among them as one of the 15 fast-track winners. This comes after her triumphs in the Beauty with a Purpose and head-to-head pre-coronation challenges. With this, Tracy also advances to the top 30. Pageant body announced that only the top 40 will grace the Miss World stage in Puerto Rico this March 16. But they're hoping all countries will still join Coronation Night online. After postponing concerts in Las Vegas in the United States, Adele made it up to some fans with a once-in-a-lifetime treat, a personal video call. James Mason Fox, who flew in from Nashville for the show, posted a TikTok about his frustration over the rescheduling. This caught the attention of the English singer. Through Adele's Instagram account, James was told to get to a merchandise shop in Caesar's Palace. Shortly after that, one of the vocalist's employees held up a phone with Adele on the other end. Adele's shows under her Las Vegas residency were moved because of COVID-19 cases among her team. And that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Let's admit it, during this pandemic, many of us have gained a few pounds here and there. The next thing you know, you've gained 10 kilos or more. Blame it on the stress caused by this new normal that has dramatically changed the way we live. But while many of us are quick to think to go on a diet to lose weight, it's easier said than done. Plus, not all diets are effective. They're not all that safe either. The goal is to develop and stick to healthy eating habits. But where do we start? I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. While food intake and exercise are key components of weight loss, hormones and metabolism play a major role in all of this. This is why it's important to seek medical advice before going on a diet. Joining us on the program today are Dr. Jan Di Pasupil. He's a lifestyle and obesity medicine specialist from the Medical City Ortigas. Also with us is Dr. Maricar Esculto Can. She's an internal medicine specialist and the nutrition section chief of the Makati Medical Center. I've heard many people saying that they've gained weight since the pandemic started, and it's not just their imagination, it's a real thing. I'll start first with Dr. Jan. Explain natin how this all happened, and let's discuss also how we can now manage, especially with the holidays just around the corner.
First could be the stress. Okay, the stress, increasing of the stress hormone is associated with eating of the salty, the sugary, and even the fatty foods. So the body metabolizes these foods more slowly when we are under very high level of stress. In addition to that, it would increase the belly fat or the abdominal fat that puts the people at risk of metabolic diseases. The second one is the reduced physical activity. Because we are sitting more, we are working from home, and then we are moving less. That's why we have lost the muscle mass and then we have gained fat. The third is the new normal lifestyle. Due to the COVID-19 restrictions, we have discovered taking advantage of the food deliveries because it's accessible and convenient. So we are ordering fast foods and even desserts instead of cooking our meals or cooking healthy foods. And then the fourth one, and I believe a lot of us have been doing this one, is the midnight activities. So we binge watching TV series, movies that may potentially snack after the dinner and could lead to inadequate sleep.
Now, Dr. Maricar, let's revisit the overall food choices and eating habits of the average Filipino that may contribute to weight gain.
So during this pandemic, kasi a study was actually conducted by the Food and Nutrition Research Institute, so that was 2020, which showed that they found out that the typical diet of Filipinos, age 19 to 59 years of age, is comprised mostly of rice, fried pork and fish with a little vegetable. So carbohydrates and fat, we know that when eaten in excessive amounts, coupled with the decrease in physical activity that happened to us during this pandemic. So you have decreased energy expenditure. So it's actually a formula for weight gain. A positive energy intake and low energy expenditure. So that's your recipe for weight gain.
For some other people, they've turned to a very popular health and fitness trend to lose weight, and that is intermittent fasting. Dr. John, explain natin sa mga viewers kung ano ba yung intermittent fasting.
It's a dietary pattern. So that is the cycle between the brief periods of fasting with either no food or there is a significant calorie reduction. And that would be the periods of unrestricted eating. So the principle is like after hours without food, okay, the body is exhausting its sugar stores. And this would be the time that it would start burning off the fat. And this is somehow referred to the metabolic switching.
A lot of Filipinos really have ingrained in their system that kailangan breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's the norm. It may be merienda pa in between lunch and dinner. So what you're saying that it is okay to have less meals in a day? The body is completely healthy with having less meals?
Yes, you could have less of the meals. Of course, you have to consider the right kinds of foods.
Right.
Eating of the complex carbohydrates instead of the
We care for the growing needs of our community. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk here on CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Intermittent fasting isn't about skipping meals now and again, nor is it about starving yourself. It's also not a solution for weight loss for everyone. That's why seeking advice from a healthcare professional, from a nutritionist, or your weight management specialist is very important. When you don't eat for a while, there are a number of things that happen in your body, including fat burning. Dr. John, let's explain that.
For the people who are intermittent fasting, okay, so when they follow that 8-hour of fasting or that kind of IF, the people who have fasted for at least 16 hours, they show a fat loss, okay, and there would be a maintenance of the muscle mass. That's why people who could stick with the 16 hours of fasting, if they would be following the time restricted, they could have a weight loss.
Now, there's also the aspect of cell repair for those who are doing intermittent fasting properly. Dr. John, how does that work naman?
There's a term called the autophagy. So it's a process of removing the old cells, repairing the damaged cells, and replacing it with new and healthier ones. So with this cell repair, it would prevent the toxin accumulation in the damaged cell and removing the harmful material and somehow preventing the infected cells from gathering.
Now, I'd like to turn to some of the most common diet mistakes naman. First is one food wonders with instant results. Dr. Maricar, dito naman tayo. There are diets out there that call for several things, for eating maybe only cabbage or drinking only vegetable juice. What are your thoughts on this?
Actually, Doc Freddy, those diet plans that you have mentioned are called fad diets. Okay, so what are fad diets? They are usually short-term popular diets that promise dramatic weight loss results. Okay, so a typical characteristic of fad diets is the over-restriction of certain important macronutrients in the diet that may have detrimental effects in the body. Okay, so some fad diets even require the client to purchase certain products or supplements. So sadly, fad diets take advantage of a person's desire for a quick fix, okay, and use it as a marketing strategy. So as health and proper nutrition advocates, we always remind the public to be discerning and consult a nutrition professional or an expert if they have weight loss concerns.
How about the fat-free, carb-free, sugar-free diet? How about these naman, Dr. Maricar? Let's start with carbs first. Do we really need to snub carbs altogether?
Carbohydrate is an important part of our diet. Okay? So it's an important macronutrient because it is our major source of energy. So we should remember that not all carbohydrates are the same. Okay? So we have your complex carbohydrates, which confers most of the beneficial effects, and you also have the simple carbohydrates where the simple sugars belong. So usually, for example, in patients with diabetes, we recommend for the limitation of the simple sugar proportion. Okay, so if you are talking about a sugar-free diet, usually this diet is basically about limiting the consumption of carbohydrates in the form of simple sugars, such as sucrose, which is our usual table sugar, and any other food item that use added sugar in their preparation. So examples of that are candies, cakes, cookies, soft drinks, and other sugar-sweetened beverages.
What's healthy? What should our viewers know when it comes to these alternatives? What's not healthy? At bakit kaya? Kasi a lot of people use coconut sugar, maybe some stevia, or even honey as alternatives to refined table sugar. Ano yung suggestion nyo, Dr. Maricar? Which should our viewers use?
People who are trying to eliminate sugar in their diet turn to the so-called artificial sweeteners or sugar substitutes. No? Sometimes they may also be referred to as your non-nutritive sweeteners because they do not provide additional calories or carbohydrates. Okay, so using sugar substitute does not make an unhealthy choice healthy. So you should remember that. So it just makes such a choice less healthy. So in terms of choosing which type, you still need to be familiar with the particular nutrition fact information of the certain sugar substitute that you plan to use. So sometimes kasi they still contain a little calorie. So that should be taken into consideration when you plan your overall diet.
So Dr. Maricar, what's your take on these zero-calorie, sugar-free sodas? Are they actually healthier? Is it healthier to drink than regular soda?
Does not make it healthier. It just makes it less unhealthy. But the problem with allowing patients to be liberal in terms of their intake of sugar-free carbonated drinks, it tends to displace the sufficient intake of water, which is the best option actually if you want to give your body proper hydration. So that's the downside of it. So yes, in reality, it does not contribute additional calories, but it displaces a more important fluid source, which is our water.
Many experts will emphasize the importance of a colorful diet. Green leafy vegetables, orange and yellow fruits and vegetables that are packed with vitamin C. More of what you should be having on your plate. MedTalk Health Talk is your partner in healthcare. We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back to Med Talk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Sabi nga nila, you are what you eat, and eating healthy means you stay healthy. We've learned so much about healthy eating from our younger years, and it might be worth reviewing. A colorful diet apparently is a nice way to look at it. Dr. John, tell us more about this. How can we make this a part of our day-to-day, having that nice colorful diet?
Eating of their fruits or vegetables of different colors every day. So there's this red, the yellow, the green, even the blue or purple kinds of fruits and vegetables, like the fruits, red fruits and vegetables, such as the tomatoes, the strawberries, the red beans. These are packed with vitamins A, C, and then potassiums. Next is the yellow and the orange fruits and vegetables. Examples would be carrots, the peaches, the squash, also loaded with vitamin C and vitamin A. For the green color, that would be your leafy vegetables, your broccoli, your cauliflower, and this would be heart protective too. And we also have this particular antioxidant like your glucosinolates that may lower the risk of certain cancer. While the fourth one, which is the blue or even the purple fruits and vegetables, including these cranberries, the grapes, the raisins, and even the eggplants, may help in boosting our urinary tract health, even the memory, and somehow promote the healthy aging through this specific anthocyanin antioxidant.
Dr. Maricar, what's the real deal on the number of times that we should be eating on any given day?
Weight gain is not necessarily affected by how frequent you eat. It is affected more by how much you eat. Okay, so the total calorie intake for the day will dictate the effect on your energy balance. So as I have mentioned earlier, if you are eating more than what you expend or burn during physical activity, and you have a consistent positive energy balance, that will result to weight gain. Now, in terms of the frequency, actually, it will depend on what is applicable for your condition, because there are patients, for example, they benefit more if their daily intake is distributed throughout the day with snacks. Okay, so for example, patients with diabetes who are on insulin, so they need to have a constant supply of substrates in their body. So it will really be more, if you're concerned about weight gain, the main factor is the total calories, not the frequency of the meals.
What can you say, Dr. Maricar, about those who decide on their weight loss strategy by eating one big meal just for the whole day? Isang malaking meal lang for the entire day, and they feel that they will lose weight with this. What's your take on that?
Almost similar to doing the intermittent fasting, right? So we should be vigilant in terms of looking out for patients who are prone to have eating disorders. No? Kasi usually, those who practice that style of eating, so they are the ones who are prone to have eating disorders. So you should do a thorough counseling with them. So you should explain to them the importance of eating a more balanced diet that is distributed throughout the day.
Exercise is another strategy to healthy weight loss. Aside from shedding those unwanted pounds, exercise has other health benefits as well. Dr. John, let's talk about all these good things that happen in the body when we are eating healthy and being active at the same time.
In addition to healthy eating, we definitely need to move. Okay, but before we go to the benefits, I think we have to first define what is the difference or differentiate exercise from physical activity. Because Filipinos, when they think about exercise, naku, ang hirap niyan. So when you say exercise, it's a subset. So it's a component of the physical activity that is planned, structured, and even repetitive movements to improve or maintain our fitness. But when you say physical activity, it's any bodily movement that's produced by the muscle requiring energy so you could burn calories. Okay, so what are examples of the physical activity? General gardening, okay, household chores, cleaning your car, okay, or maybe your collections. Well, you say exercise, these are jogging. This could be your push-ups, planking, and so on. So there are numerous benefits of exercise or physical activity. First, it may help keeping your weight off. Okay, even if you have been doing your right diet, let's say you have going for an OMAD, there would be a time that there would be a weight plateau. So your body would be able to adapt to that kind of eating, and so you won't be able to lose more weight. So you need additional help by moving. Next, it would reduce the risk of heart diseases. It would manage your blood sugar levels. It would lower your cholesterol levels, even the inflammation levels. It may protect our liver and somehow improve our mental health. So there are a lot of benefits of exercise or maybe physical activity.
Thank you, lifestyle medicine specialist Dr. John Di Pasupil and clinical nutritionist Dr. Maricar Esculto-Khan. We appreciate your time in joining us on today's episode. Choose well and choose to be healthy. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines.